Long ago, in the days when judges ruled in Israel, there was a man named Elimelech who lived in a town called Bethlehem. Bethlehem was a small town in the land of Judah. The fields around it were usually green and full of grain. But one year, and then another, no rain came. The ground became hard. The crops failed. There was no food. Elimelech had a wife named Naomi and 2 sons. When the hunger became too much, he made a hard decision. He took his family and left Bethlehem. They traveled east to a land called Moab, hoping to find food and a new beginning. At first, life in Moab seemed better. There was food. There was work. The boys grew into young men. They married Moabite women. One was named Orpah, and the other was named Ruth. But then sadness came into Naomi's life like a storm she did not see coming. Elimelech died. Naomi was left without her husband in a foreign land. She still had her 2 sons, and that gave her some comfort. But after some years, both sons also died. Naomi was now alone with her 2 daughters-in-law. 3 widows in a land that was not their true home. One day Naomi heard news from Bethlehem. The Lord had visited his people again. There was food in the land. The famine was over. Naomi decided to return home. She told Orpah and Ruth to go back to their own families. "May the Lord be kind to you," she said. "You have been kind to me. Go home and find new husbands. Start new lives." Both young women cried. They loved Naomi. They did not want to leave her. At first they said, "We will go with you." But Naomi insisted. "I am too old to marry again," she said. "Even if I had sons, would you wait for them to grow? No, my daughters. My life has been too bitter." Orpah kissed Naomi and returned to her people. But Ruth stayed. Naomi tried again to send her away. "Look," Naomi said, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth answered with words that have been remembered for thousands of years. "Do not ask me to leave you or turn back. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." Ruth chose love. She chose loyalty. She chose Naomi and Naomi's God. So the 2 women traveled back to Bethlehem together. It was a long journey. Dusty roads. Tired feet. But Ruth walked beside Naomi every step of the way. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town noticed. "Can this be Naomi?" The women whispered. Naomi answered, "Do not call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." Naomi felt empty. But she was not truly empty. She had Ruth. It was the beginning of the barley harvest when they arrived. The fields around Bethlehem were golden with grain. Ruth saw that they needed food. She did not wait to be asked. "Let me go to the fields," she said to Naomi, "and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." In those days, God had given a law to his people. Farmers were not to pick up every piece of grain. They were to leave some behind for the poor and for foreigners. This was called gleaning. Naomi said, "Go, my daughter." So Ruth went out to the fields. She followed behind the harvesters and gathered the stalks of barley they dropped. It was hard work under the hot sun. Her hands became rough. Her back ached. But she kept working. By what seemed like chance, Ruth found herself in a field that belonged to a man named Boaz. That day, Boaz came from Bethlehem to see his workers. He greeted them kindly. "The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you," they answered. Boaz noticed Ruth. He saw a young woman working hard in the field. "Who is she?" he asked his foreman. The foreman replied, "She is the Moabite woman who came back from Moab with Naomi. She asked if she could gather grain. She has been working from morning until now, except for a short rest." Boaz was impressed. He walked over to Ruth. "My daughter," he said kindly, "listen to me. Do not go and glean in another field. Stay here with my servant girls. Watch where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to touch you. When you are thirsty, go and drink from the water jars." Ruth was surprised. She bowed low. "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz answered, "I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since your husband died, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you. May you be richly rewarded by the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth felt encouraged. She returned to work with new strength in her heart. At mealtime, Boaz invited her to eat with the harvesters. He gave her bread and roasted grain. She ate until she was full and even had some left over. After she went back to glean, Boaz gave his workers another quiet instruction. "Let her gather among the sheaves," he said. "Do not embarrass her. Pull out some stalks from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up." That evening, Ruth beat out the barley she had gathered. It was much more than usual for one day. When she carried it home, Naomi was amazed. "Where did you glean today? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Ruth told her about Boaz. Naomi's eyes widened. "That man is our close relative," she said. "He is one of our guardian redeemers." In their culture, a guardian redeemer was a family member who could help relatives in trouble. He could buy back land or even marry a widow to protect her and keep the family name alive. Ruth continued to work in Boaz's fields through the barley and wheat harvests. Day after day she labored faithfully. Day after day Boaz watched her kindness and strength. One evening, after the harvest was finished, Naomi spoke to Ruth. "My daughter, should I not try to find a home for you, where you will be well provided for?" Naomi gave Ruth careful instructions. She told her to wash, put on her best clothes, and go to the threshing floor where Boaz would be winnowing barley. Ruth listened carefully. "I will do whatever you say," she answered. That night, after Boaz had eaten and drunk and was in good spirits, he lay down at the end of a pile of grain. Quietly, Ruth approached. She uncovered his feet and lay down. In the middle of the night, Boaz woke up and was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." It was a humble and brave request. She was asking him to protect her and marry her. Boaz replied gently, "The Lord bless you, my daughter. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after younger men, whether rich or poor. Do not be afraid. I will do for you all you ask." But there was a problem. There was another relative who was closer than Boaz. According to the law, that man had the first right to redeem Naomi's land and marry Ruth. Boaz promised to settle the matter in the morning. Before dawn, Ruth returned to Naomi with 6 measures of barley that Boaz had given her. Naomi listened carefully as Ruth told her everything. "Wait, my daughter," Naomi said. "The man will not rest until the matter is settled today." Early that morning, Boaz went to the town gate, where business was done. When the closer relative passed by, Boaz called him to sit down. He also gathered 10 elders of the town as witnesses. Boaz explained that Naomi was selling the land that belonged to Elimelech. As the nearest relative, the man had the first right to buy it. At first the man said, "I will redeem it." But then Boaz added, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead man, to maintain the name of the dead with his property." The man thought about it. If he married Ruth, it could affect his own inheritance. "I cannot redeem it," he said. "You redeem it yourself." In that time, to make the agreement official, the man took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz in front of the elders. Boaz stood up and said, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech and his sons. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite as my wife." The elders and all the people at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. The Lord blessed them with a son. Naomi held the baby in her arms. The women of the town said, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. They said to Naomi, he will renew your life and sustain you in your old age, for your daughter-in-law, who loves you, is better to you than 7 sons. Naomi, who once said she was empty, now held fullness in her arms. They named the baby Obed. He became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David. From Ruth, the foreign woman who chose love and faithfulness, came the line of kings. And many generations later, from that same family line, would come Jesus. Ruth's story is a story of quiet courage. She was not a queen or a warrior. She was a young widow in a foreign land. But she chose loyalty over comfort. She chose faith over fear. She worked hard when no one was watching. She trusted God even when her future was uncertain. Naomi's story is a story of hope restored. She thought her life was bitter and empty. But God was working behind the scenes in fields of barley and in small acts of kindness. Boaz's story is a story of integrity. He used his strength and position to protect, not to harm. He followed God's law with kindness. And through their simple obedience, God wrote a greater story, one that reached far beyond Bethlehem, far beyond their own lifetimes. The fields that once held famine became fields of blessing. The woman who once felt empty became a grandmother in a royal family. The foreigner became part of God's chosen people. And it all began with one young woman saying, "Where you go, I will go. Your God will be my God."